The new one button rotation in World of Warcraft is very good. I've been able to use it on multiple characters I've never played before and not only perform very well in most dungeons, and I've been able to get myself Keystone Master with all of these characters with not that much of an issue. Every class has different intricacies to make better damage with the one button rotation, and in this video we're gonna go through exactly how you can do it with this one. What builds and specs are the best one for this class. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support my content. Go to my Twitch to watch me live every morning, and let's get into it. Well, in this case we're gonna go for my warrior, and I chose warrior because arms and fury are kind of okay in the single button rotation in terms of the amount of damage that they lose. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. 18-19% is a pretty good amount of a penalty for you to actually have to try a little bit, while also it being reasonable for you to do a good amount of damage compared to something like Outlaw, where you just lose a lot of it. So the first thing you want to do is go into your spell book and check all your abilities. Yes, you have the single one button rotation, right? The single button assistance that you want to press, and you want to hover this and put it in the main button you want to press, right? And also, I will heavily recommend you to whatever this button is to go into your keybinds, and whatever this button is, put a second one as well, so your hand doesn't hurt and you don't have a tendinitis by pressing the same button with the same finger over and over again. But you also want to check what other abilities you have. You know, you have, for example, for warrior, battle shout that will give you more damage and all your allies damage for an hour. So you want to have this somewhere so you know that it exists. Spell reflection reflects the first spells and also gives you 20% less damage done to you with magic damage. Impended victory that will heal you. Stumble that will CC something, will stun it. Pummel that will interrupt. Rallying cry that will make everyone have 10% more health, and it's a 3-minute cooldown. Battle stance and defensive stance that will make you do more damage with battle stance and less damage, but take less damage too with defensive stance. Die by the sword that will make you parry chance 100% and reduces all damage taken by 30% for 8 seconds. All these buttons, you want to have them binded for different situations, regardless of whether your main rotation is with the single button assistant. And you also want to see, is there any attacks that you have to use that are not in the single button assistant? In this case, yeah, you have to get yourself Avatar that transforms you into Colossus and makes you be able to do 20% more damage. So come in here and bind them in places that you want them to be binded on, in the buttons you want them to be at. And remember that these are going to be defensives, and eventually you'll want to lend your rotation anyway, so don't bind this with buttons you would usually use for your normal rotation, right? So you don't get yourself a bad muscle memory. But there are a lot of specs and hero talents. You have Slayer and Colossus for arms, you have Slayer and Mountain Thane for fury. So which one is the actual best for one button rotation? For DPS, it seemed like most people would actually bring arms to the hardest Mythic Plus dungeons, particularly Colossus arms. So I went here and tried this. We would try Fury too, but let's just start with the best one. It also made it easier because you only need one weapon instead of two for Fury. I went through and tried this build a lot. It was pretty easy because you only had to press one button other than the one button rotation, which was your Avatar of the Mountain, and it's just Avatar. I don't know why I call it Avatar of the Mountain. I just call you I just press my Avatar, and everything else would be indeed in the one button rotation. This would even apply to importance CDs like Thunderous Roar, Demolish, Warbreaker, and Ravager. These are big cooldowns, and you want to do them all at the same time to get all of their debuffs that apply on your enemy to stack and do more damage at the same time. This started to scare me a little bit, because yeah, even though this was supposed to be the most amount of damage you could actually do with this spec, well, the one button rotation doesn't care about lining them up. It will just cast them as soon as they appear, and if this is not the correct moment, then it doesn't care. This will completely delete your damage, and even though you will do a big amount of burst at the start, it would slowly start going down, sometimes doing less damage than the tank. So yeah, It was really not working out, regardless of whether it said that it was only not 18% penalty for damage. So I had to go for something else. So I decided to try Slayer instead. It wasn't what the guide recommended, but I was like, might as well just go in here and try it anyways. This was way more consistent. Also ignore the VTuber, someone forced me to do it in chat, but it was way more consistent. Mainly because the entire point of Slayer is that all of your buttons make Whirlwind have less cooldown, and that's the main amount of damage. So you don't have to deal with things not aligning because there's only one thing to align, your avatar with your Whirlwind. So it was way easier to just save my avatar for that to happen. Sure, sometimes it was important for you to use your Whirlwind without avatar, but it would just go off cooldown all the time super fast because everything I would press would make my Whirlwind have lower cooldown over and over again. My Colossus Smash had to indeed work together with my Whirlwind, but most of the time it would line up anyways, and I had 13 seconds of Colossus Smash to actually last for me to use my Blade Storm on it. Sometimes I also would have my Blade Storm not yet up, but I could just press Avatar and know that in a few seconds, just by using my normal abilities, my cooldown of my Blade Storm would go down, making it so I can use it with Avatar on. It felt like as long as I had around 30 seconds of the cooldown, I was gonna be able to just get the cooldown for Blade Storm even if I pressed Avatar with 30 seconds left, but it will depend on the amount of haste you have and your build, so definitely practice a little bit and realize more or less where it actually goes. And the coolest thing is this is the same build that you would use in single target on arms. It's very, very similar, so you wouldn't really have to change anything and you can just practice with it. That being said, there's another Slayer build for Fury instead, so it was time for us to try out how Fury would work. Jesus Christ, Slayer Fury was fun. Oh my god, it was so fast paced. It was so fun. You just press the one button rotation and you just completely blast. And the best part about this is that every time you press any button, your Blade Storm would go down and down and down in cooldown. Being able to press it multiple times in a fight, it was just so fun. In a lot of ways, it felt like Fury was just made for the one button rotation. It just felt exactly how it should. And I don't know, I just absolutely loved it. Pressing my avatar with recklessness at the same time in order to blast a big Blade Storm, and even pressing it a little bit earlier than I should, just because I knew that my Blade Storm would be up by then, just by the cooldown reduction of every one of the attacks. It felt great. The only thing you have to do is to bind avatar on a macro with your recklessness so they go both at the same time, and then you just press one button, boom, and then you start doing your rotation and it'll be perfect. You just go into your Blade Storm with no issues. That being said, it's important to note that your recklessness will indeed go off cooldown faster than your avatar because all of your attacks that you press will make your Blade Storm and your recklessness go lower in cooldown. So you will have to press recklessness by itself sometimes. Ideally, just before you actually go into a Blade Storm, but sometimes, just like you're gonna see right now, my Blade Storm is gonna go down and I don't have recklessness, so I'm just gonna do it anyways. Just gonna let it go, keep going, and then I'm gonna get recklessness right now. I'm gonna wait a little bit before I press it, so I know that my recklessness will actually go together with the Blade Storm. But it lasts around like what, 15 seconds? So around 40 seconds with the next cooldown reduction like this. I'm just gonna go in there, use my recklessness. I have 14 seconds for my Blade Storm to go down, and I'm surely gonna make it. Of course, you're gonna have to test this out with your build, depending on how much haste you have, but this should be okay. And then boom, look at that, we still have a few seconds left for recklessness, and it casts us perfectly with the Blade Storm, and we can continue doing our rotation over and over again. We have a few seconds left for avatar, but guess what? Just with a few more attacks, our recklessness and our Blade Storm are gonna be ready. I'm just gonna do a few more executes over here. Kind of sucks that my other ability went there with my damage, but you want to use both at the same time anyways. And here we go. We're just gonna wait a little bit, and then boom, perfect. Now, ideally, this wouldn't happen in the way that it happened right here. It would, your avatar and your recklessness would go together instantly, but sometimes it's gonna happen and you're gonna have to deal with it. Now, I'm not quite sure if it's actually just better to use recklessness there, sorry, avatar, and then just wait for recklessness to actually happen. I don't think it's worth it for all I've read, but I may be wrong about this. So correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, and I'll just leave a pinned comment down below so you guys can let me know. But yeah, this was working out pretty well. The only problem, though, is that, well, even though it was working good, I was still not able to just win every time in top DPS. I still will get deleted sometimes, and this could just be because of the one button rotation penalty, the global cooldown penalty. But I also thought that it was because, yeah, sometimes you use your blade storm in moments that you shouldn't use it, and there's not really anything you can do about it, as it is indeed part of the one button rotation. And sometimes your Thunder's Roar would go even though you didn't have your buffs up, and there was not really anything you could do about it. So yeah, it was a bit unfortunate in this matter. And because all of the damage was in that one blade storm, it made it so if you missed it, well, you were done. Your entire burst is gone and there's nothing you can do about it. So how could we fix this issue? Well, we also had Mountain Thane. I didn't expect this to be good because it didn't have a blade storm, it had Ravager, which was also in the single button assistant, so I thought it would have the same problem. But this just wasn't the case. I was actually able to do a good amount of damage, and I believe it was because not all the damage was in one button. It was more spread around, but not on cooldowns like the arm spec that we started with. It was just in normal buttons that you would just press all the time. So by not having so much of a burst, it felt like you just were playing the game in a very chill manner, just pressing the one button rotation, doing whatever button it asks you to do, and then just, you know, pair up your avatar and your recklessness with that Ravager. It would still go up cooldown by you pressing your buttons, but for some reason it just felt less punishing. It also just moves by itself, which is kind of nice. Regardless, it was working better, so who am I to judge? I will say that this was a bit different than the build that I saw on Icy Banes. You had to replace Death's Experience with, I think it was Bloodborne here, and Ferocity. So you can just check this out right here and just copy it. But it's the same build that people have in Warcraft log, so it shouldn't be an issue. It really felt like this was it. The build that just worked perfectly with one button rotation. You wouldn't really have to pay a lot of attention to the rotation other than new cooldowns. You would just go and press the button and not have any care in the world and do a lot of DPS. It felt perfect, and the gameplay was super fun as well. Pressing the button just felt great. And you could use this time as well to lend your spec. Use Spell Reflection whenever something was casted upon you, some magic spell. CC with Stormbolt. Use Impending Victory to heal yourself. Interrupt with Pummel. Go into defensive stance whenever you know you're gonna take a lot of damage. Use Shockwave to see everything around you on AoE. And use Enrage Regeneration to heal yourself. And of course also reduce take a damage by 30%. You can just play all this, press the one button rotation, and focus on learning the spec. But I had one more idea. That was, could you actually play the best build for Mythic Plus in the one button rotation anyways, and get the full benefit for it? I would have to heavily play around having Demolish, Thunderous Roar, Avatar, and Ravager all at the same time, but it could work. How? By doing your normal rotation. Crazy, I know. This whole one button rotation video just to be like, oh, just learn the rotation, mate. But the thing is, what you can do instead is just use your normal one button rotation, pop off everything, use your big attacks, of course, as well at the same time, and keep using your one button rotation the entire time. But then when you see that things are not gonna get aligned, and you want to wait a little bit for your Demolisher, for example, to line up with your Warbreaker, what you can do is stop doing the one button rotation just for a few seconds and use your normal attacks with your normal buttons and wait for that Demolisher to be ready so you can line up with everything else. There we go, for example, right here. And then we'll just blast everything together, and then you will do a lot of damage with it. Now that wasn't the perfect thing, but I just wanted to show it. And yes, this would mean you actually learning the rotation and when to press the buttons and which order whenever you don't have Warbreaker, Ravager, Avatar, Thunderous Roar together, and Demolish of course. But this is perfect for you to actually start learning the normal rotation while using the one button one. You can just slowly learn, have your buttons ready, and just every few seconds, every 30, 40 seconds, you do a little bit of the normal rotation and then go back to pressing one single button, making you do way more damage than you normally would, while also learning and chilling out a little bit. I think, honestly, it's a very nice middle ground, and eventually you can just play the game normally. Crazy. So where would I put these two specs so you can decide on what to go for? I'll probably say Fury in terms of not only fun, but just easiness, of course. Slayer and indeed Mountain Thane as well. I think Arms Slayer and Fury Slayer are very similar. I would maybe even say that Arms is a little bit better, even in terms of damage, but Fury is just so much more fun. And Mountain Thane is just, oh, it just feels great. But then if you really want to try hard and start working on getting better at the game, I would heavily say that Arms is better. It has better potential. You learn with this spec so much, and it's just a very, very fun spec. And also easier to gear than Fury anyways, because you only need one weapon instead of two. And there you go. That's all I wanted to talk about. And all my beautiful journey through trying to make murder damage with one button. So hopefully it helped you. So hopefully it will, you know, make you be better at the game and learn this spec, and we'll go for something else next. I think I might go for Paladin or Evoker next time. So let me know if you guys liked it, and if you want to see more videos like this, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support my content like everyone, beautiful people here. Go to my Twitch to watch me live every morning, and see you around. Love you all. Ciao, ciao.